Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 284 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on February 15th, 2021. My name is Andrew. Joining me tonight, we have Ian, Brian, and Gavin.
That we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help. To support Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. So you're not a communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment that's called What Are We Drinking? It's where I ask my co-conspirators what they're drinking. Go down the screen from what I have on mine. We'll start with Ian. Ian, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some very old Corona out of the bar fridge, and it's starting to go skunkier than normal.
Is this the original strain of Corona or one of the new mutated ones?
No, this is the OG strain, and before they stopped producing it, I suppose, because I heard they had trouble.
Weird. Brian, what are you drinking?
In honor of the Daytona 500 yesterday, I'm drinking the Busch.
Praisdale.
Yes.
And pass the ammo?
yeah, exactly.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
I've switched it up a little bit this evening. I'm drinking Maker's Mark and Coke Zero.
Is that also because of the Daytona 500?
No, it's just I ran out of Jack Daniels and I haven't gone to go get a new bottle, so I grabbed what was on the shelf.
All right. I have a beer for Brian, in honor of Brian. I found more festive Christmas beer.
Well, that's good. You just keep it there.
A delicious gingerbread pale ale from Shakespeare Brewing.
Wow. Where'd you have
It's
to pick
kind of
that
like
up?
molasses. It's from Shakespeare. It's good.
Oh man.
Remind everybody about the Patriot Challenge. If you're on social media, or even if you're not, do 5 things every day to be a better person. Exercise, practice a skill, read a book, drink some water, and do one thing that will improve your life. And if you are on social media, grab the template off of our website and share it with your friends and tell them about the podcast, or share it with your enemies and tell them about the podcast because, well, I was going to say
you have to
all
listen to
press
it,
is
so
good
should
press,
they?
But, well,
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but
But I do believe liberal anger fuels us in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
making liberal head explode is one of my favorite things.
Yeah. And the cuck tears keep me young. I'm actually 75 years old.
Between you, your sexual partners, and their spouses. Speaking of getting fucked, Section 74 challenges. If you want to provide some much needed funding to the Section 74 appeals that are going on that Wade talked about a couple episodes ago, we've got a reference on the show notes for the GoFundMe link. They're up to almost $14,000. They're going for $22,000. Lawyers are not cheap.
Especially good ones.
Shackles.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you want to get involved, you can email that group at s74process@gmail.com, and they'll get you figured out how to file your Section 74 appeal. I don't have feedback. I do have new Patreons. I want to welcome Josh, who I hope I recently saw in a parking lot and waved at. Otherwise, there's some dude that drives the same truck as him, and I look like an idiot. So, Josh, I hope that was...
It could have been him, and you still looked like an idiot. But
well, yeah, some poor guy in the public park taking his lunch break, and the Yahoo and Multicam walking by waving at him. Also, $1.50 Patreon, Andrew. Thanks for listening. Patreon changed a bunch of stuff recently that I discovered. I don't know when the change was because I just go into Patreon and like when I get a notification, I do something with it. Like we got a new Patreon, so I write it down. Or we owe somebody a t-shirt, so I get their shipping address and I mail them a t-shirt. Patreon changed a bunch of stuff in the interface lately, I discovered. So I haven't been getting notifications in the Patreon app website thing. It's just been in my email. So I went through and I think it's a little bit broken, but also they changed a bunch of stuff. And I think we can accept Canadian currency now instead of US, but it requires me to make a switch to how Patreon works. And it's like you have to turn it off and turn it back on again kind of a situation. I'm not sure if we want to go down that road. So dear Patreons, if you'd rather pay in Canadian money, if that's better or easier, let me know so that I can make the change, because I think it's better if we make it in Canadian, because then we don't have to convert from Canuck bucks to America dollars back to Canuck bucks.
It makes no difference to me.
Well, really. And I'm not sure how it works on the like the supporter side, because I didn't notice on the content creator side until recently that there's like, we support 108 currencies now. Like, okay.
How many of them are real though?
I don't know. Probably none.
Well, it's not like the US dollar is going to keep going up relative to ours with the new man in charge. So,
yeah.
I know. I just don't like the idea of paying conversion fees on both sides. That's all.
Exactly.
Just like to convert it to American dollars and then to convert it back to Canadian dollars. Like I feel like there's some usury there that I'm not really.
Yeah, someone's getting
kosher about.
Yeah, someone's getting paid twice on that deal.
Yeah, a point or two on each side. Yeah.
You're getting double dipped.
Yeah.
Is that what that feels like?
Yeah. It never feels good to get double dipped.
No.
As opposed to the double fisting we're going to get next, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well,
that's coming up tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, the double fisting that we're going to get tomorrow. So this is in the CBC. This is February 11th. There's been a couple of things come out about this. It started on Radio Canada, the French language CBC. Unnamed sources high in the Liberal caucus or high in the Ministry of Public Safety spoke to Radio Canada on the condition of anonymity because they're not allowed to speak about this publicly. I love government so much. Can I just start with how much I love government?
Yeah.
Unnamed sources that are not authorized to speak about this thing have spoken about this thing.
Yeah.
Aggressive jerk-off motion. There's literally no way to tell from this story if anything about this is even remotely plausible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I mean, I'm sure something's coming down the pipeline.
Well, we know that something is because it's been tabled, right?
Yeah.
So there's official government documents that say that on this date, Bill Blair has put this thing in motion.
Yeah.
On this date, Bill Blair will read the thing, which we can then find out what is being tabled, because the actual legislation has not. It's just on the process document.
Well, yeah, but that's the announcement that he's dropping the turd has been out there, right? It's just, we're waiting for the turd.
This is supposed to be like the rollout of the buyback program.
That's the theory. That's what Radio Canada was saying. It got translated into English. Now
poorly.
It's on CBC. So they're saying that the 2-year amnesty that's in place stays in place, and owners may choose to surrender their weapons to the government under a buyback program, or comply with strict requirements if they wish to keep the firearms. One of the requirements is the weapons have to be stored securely and never used.
Yeah, so they're just paperweights for the rest of your life.
Well,
and how's that any different from now? But I mean, like, look at me agreeing with the Bloc Québécois again. This is Bloc MP Christina Michaud. It completely misses the point if we don't make the buyback program mandatory. Not only will these weapons stay in houses and people will be able to use them, even if it's forbidden to do so, we know that there are people who do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I mean, yes,
I
but those
don't.
people probably didn't have a firearms license or a registered AR to begin with. So, but yeah,
Well, I mean, maybe ARs are an exception with that, but I mean, like, I sit on the board of directors of a large Southern Ontario gun club. There has been no one brought a prohibited rifle. Like, we have almost 1,000 members, and no one's brought one of these recently prohibited rifles to the range. I know, because we have cameras and that sort of thing gets reported, because we have people who've been like, some guy had the prohibited thing, and I have to go and look at the camera and go, no, that's a pump action rifle. That is not an AR. It's just black and made of plastic. You're an idiot. Leave me alone.
yeah,
Because firearms, despite being some of the best people, are also the worst people.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
these people are actually like ratting somebody out that could possibly have.
Oh, you would not believe the level of fuddery that goes on at some of the gun clubs that I am a member of.
Really, eh?
yeah.
Oh, it's,
Do they not realize that black guns matter?
No,
But they're not coming for my single shot 22, so it's fine.
Yeah.
They're not coming for my
Yeah.
over under, or they're not coming for my deer gun, except that they did in all of these examples. But
yeah. I mean, my Browning BAR that I take deer hunting is not an assault rifle. It was never ever used as such. They'd never take that from me.
while I'm sure that there are cases where people who have had prohibited firearms have used them in a less than law abiding fashion, I don't think this is a big deal. But I do agree with the honorable member from the Bloc Québécois. If you're going to prohibit it, you got to prohibit it.
Yeah,
You can't let me keep it.
yeah, for sure.
Was that like if you're going to legalize it, you should actually legalize it as they did with weed?
Not entirely different.
Yeah. Seems they have commitment issues.
So what
I
do you
think
think?
that
Like
it's-
it'll go like grandfathered, and then you have to hand them in at the end of your life, or possibly it can be handed to a family member as like a collector's item.
I'd be dewadded before that happens.
I would be amazed if they allow it to be inherited the same
Yeah,
way certain other
they're-
prohibiteds have been in the past.
Yeah, there's only one category of 12 something firearms that are allowed to be passed on, I believe. A lot of them, the grandfathering is only for the current owner, unless you also find somebody that also has that same class of license, which you can't get unless you also owned something of that type at the time of prohibition. Which is kind of they figured that one out, that just grandfathering and allowing it to pass it on doesn't get rid of the guns, it just keeps them.
So there's no way for civilians to get prohib license, like
Well, there are.
It is effectively impossible for the average person.
Yeah, I mean, you would
unless
need
there's
to.
some kind of security or something along those lines, I guess.
Nope. Even then,
You would need a firearms business license, and you would need to be a museum or some other
Dealer.
business entity that's entitled to have prohibited firearms or devices. But as an individual, it would be very, very challenging. Not impossible, just very difficult.
Mhm.
yeah, you'd need to set up some sort of a museum or prove that like this is absolutely necessary for you to do work because you are some sort of
Movie
instructor.
production guy.
Instructor for the military, but then even then you'd probably just use their guns, or like a prop guy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's possible, just very, very unlikely. Like, so you couldn't just apply and get it. I mean, if you own one of these things, you will get a prohib for that particular category of firearm
Mhm.
because you've owned it and you're grandfathered in, but that will then, I mean, it may not even allow you to purchase others of that same class because we don't know what's in the bill,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Previously,
we'll know
if
what's
you
in the
had a
bill eventually.
12.6, you could continue to buy other firearms that are a 12.6. But
I do want to look at this part where it makes Heidi Rathjen from Polyshuvent very unhappy, because Heidi being unhappy, well, it could also just be a Monday, is entertaining for me. The families of victims of mass shootings that have been fighting for years on the total ban of semi-automatic military-style guns would be devastated and very angry if the Liberals were to renege on their election promise to buy back all newly prohibited assault weapons. The Liberals, this would be the first time they've ever reneged on election promise if they did that, isn't it?
Yeah. They're always so good at keeping
Yeah,
those.
the track record's been amazing.
Literally
Actually,
never been done before.
Yeah. I mean, since the day after the first time he got elected, the natives have been rejoicing by drinking all that clean water.
and the Senate reform, my goodness, and the election reform. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, our dear friend Heidi goes on, we will not support half measures that compromise public safety and can easily be reversed by a future conservative government. So, I guess I agree with the honorable member from the block and the righteously indignant member representative of Poly Souvient. Because you're right. You shouldn't support half measures. This bill should be read and immediately fail.
Yeah.
It should not go past first reading. Because fuck you. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what we should do? We should tear up all of the records.
Yeah, agreed. They should all go to non-restricted after.
I absolutely agree with Ms. Rathjen in this case. They should not support half measures, nor should the licensed law-abiding firearms owners in this country.
Yeah.
Because the Liberal government promised that they were going to take our guns away, and I would like to see them try. I would like to see them exhaust every legal opportunity for remedy that they have to take away my private property. And then I would like to see them get sued by 3 million people in a federal court, because that would tie this up for years, and that would be very entertaining.
Yeah, and at least then it would settle it once and for all, right? Like, instead of this constant nitpicking and that's how we've got to the state that we're in, is this constant concessions on our end and compromising and just going, okay, fine, fine, we don't need machine guns. Fine, whatever. Like 105 millimeter barrels and shorter, we don't need those either. We've done that a little bit at a time, so it's not like they said from the get-go we're going to take everything. Because if they did, then people would have been pissed off and maybe done something about it. But they chew off little tiny bite-sized pieces that make it palatable for the average person, even the average idiot gun owner. Like, oh, this doesn't affect me, and the handful of people that it does, too few people to care or do anything about it.
not that I want to be the black pill guy though either, but would it really tie up the court system for years on end, or would they just do exactly like the human rights complaints where we had myself included, a bunch of guys put a human rights complaint about how you were differentiated because of your race, and they just summarily dismissed them all in one case?
Yeah, that could probably happen.
I think that somebody that wanted to go to the Human Rights Tribunal and actually fight that could have, but it is pretty memey for like a couple thousand gun owners to submit the same form filled out the same way, and the government to be like, yeah, no, we're just not doing this. But if we had a couple of thousand people file a class action that actually had some paid lawyers, I feel like that will go a little bit differently.
I should have mentioned I was double transgendered. I'd actually gone there and back, and maybe that would have helped my case or something. They would have paid more attention to me, like the old Mr. Yanov there.
100%.
You should have just changed your name, change your last name, and say that you're related.
Sorry.
It is genetic, so
It's a family thing.
yeah.
Diana.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see what this turd brings, but we know that grandfathering has to be part of it because that was mentioned in the order in council itself, so they have to make that an option. So the fact that
they do.
Well, if they don't, then they're breaking their own rules, which we know that they'll do. Yeah, we know they'll do that.
The Liberals
but
have never broken a promise ever. This would be the first time they've done. I'm sorry, man. I'm not.
Yeah, but I think if they
trust the Liberal Party as far as I can throw them, and Blair's a big fuck. I can't throw him very far.
Yeah,
a lot of cheeseburgers in that guy.
Or liquor, whatever. Yeah.
And for all we know, Trudeau thought grandfathering meant Sophie was with a really old guy that week or something.
Yeah. Does Zitter DeShelbo have a dad? Everybody has a dad, but does won't go down that road.
Yeah.
Instead, I will pick on the conservative MP. That's the public safety critic. Conservatives doing the Liberal job for them. Instead of targeting law-abiding Canadians and firearms retailers, the government should instead be investing in police, anti-gay and gun units, and the CBSA so they have the resources they need to stop illegal smuggling operations and get dangerous criminals and gangs off our streets.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what about, like, maybe the government shouldn't target law-abiding Canadians? Maybe
Yeah.
the government should leave these people the fuck alone. Maybe these people are not a threat to public safety because they get daily background checks. And maybe the Liberal government has already earmarked how many billions of dollars towards guns and gang stuff and hasn't done sweet fuck all about it.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, they earmarked it, but they didn't spend it.
Well, but they said they were gonna, and that's basically the same thing.
Almost.
I mean, and not to crap on some friends of ours that work for CBSA, but they're just as bad at reinterpreting the law as the RCMP with their whole like, oh, you can't bring that knife into Canada even though it's not prohibited because we say it's prohibited. So like, getting them to do anything, yeah, they can go suck a bag of dicks too.
Yeah, and again, like I don't have a problem with individual CBSA officers and what have you, or what's the
Yeah, but
like, government agencies making up their own regulations irks me.
yeah.
No accountability.
Like their job is to uphold the rules that currently exist, not create new rules. That's
Now,
that's
where's
not
the
how-
fun in that?
Yeah.
We should talk about making up new rules that and the agencies that get to be put in charge of that. I guess agencies is not the right word. The people with the correct jurisdiction to make that decision.
Yeah.
Like a judge, for example. Go to a Toronto Sun article here. It's an opinion piece from Joe Warmington. Judge rules Danforth shooting victims' families can sue gunmaker. Okay,
Yeah.
so these are people that actually make law saying that you can do a thing that is currently prohibited under our laws.
I
I
mean,
was a little confused by that one. You can't that court case just because the judge said that. Isn't that something that have to be decided on like a Supreme Court level?
Well,
I'm not sure of the ins and outs with a bunch of the stuff with this case. So everybody remembers the Danforth shooting, illegal firearm by
Smith and Wesson
Canadian
or-
of recent immigration.
yeah, whose brother was in the hospital because he overdosed because they had the ridiculous amount of carfentanil.
Yeah, like enough carfentanil to like kill like tens of thousands of people, like a lot of carfentanil.
I believe
Yeah.
it was every person in North and South America.
Yeah, like several millions, like double-digit millions worth of a drug.
So they
But-
had illegal Smith and Wesson M&Ps of indeterminate origin.
Yeah,
The individual in question had traveled to Pakistan to receive firearms training from Pakistani militants. Somehow had enough carfentanil to kill everyone in North and South America. Didn't they have a collection? Wasn't there like 40 Smith and Wesson M&Ps?
I
that
believe
they
there
picked up?
were 40 cal Smith and Wessons. Yeah,
Exact same model, everything else. It's almost like they stole it off a rack somewhere.
yeah.
It was a lot of guns. So Captain Shitbag here went and shot people up on the Danforth in Toronto, which is obviously unfortunate and terrible for the families of the victims involved and terrible for the the victims. I not downplaying that at all.
No.
But couldn't CBSA have, like, I don't know, detained this guy when he was traveling to or from Pakistan to receive illegal training from a militia group? Or couldn't we have stopped them from acquiring 40 of the exact same illegal handgun? Or the ammunition for that? Or
First of all, that would be
enough
racist.
carfentanil to
Yeah.
kill everyone on the continent.
You got to think about all of the police forces that broke down on that. First, it was like you guys said, the Canadian Border Control, the RCMP, OPP, and the Toronto Police, the Metro Toronto Police. So all those police forces couldn't figure out that these people had all this.
Well, let's not forget CSIS either, because I'm sure that they knew where he was going and why he was going there, or at least upon his return, knew some stuff. I mean, there's multiple levels of failure from various government organizations and agencies.
And how the fuck do people like automatically? They're like they want to go after gun manufacturers, but they can't see like all those levels of government failed them. and their first inkling is to go after a fucking gun manufacturer.
Well, and I think that's the misguided justification of
They should be
families
pissed
that have
off.
suffered
They
a
should be
tragedy,
pissed off at the
right?
fucking the law system that's failing, obviously.
Or pissed off at the person that actually committed the crime.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's only so much you can do about that because, he's already dead.
Well, that's what I mean. At that point, who's to blame, right?
Well,
mean,
that guy, but like,
They didn't blame the van for the drive down in downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
well, and that's the thing. Like, so when it's like some crazy white guy that can't get a girlfriend because he's an asshole, they say, oh, he's an incel terrorist, and they actually, call him that, and are looking at, hate crime and charging him with terrorism and all of this stuff. But like when it's someone that actually has ties to like actual terrorism, again, not that the van guy, is a good thing and everything that happened in that is tragic, but like it's some weird lonely dude versus a guy that like traveled to another country to get training and had all of this other stuff. Like I would say that like that's closer to an actual terror attack.
Yeah.
And we're not even going to look at any of that stuff. Like, I mean, you can't charge the guy because he's already dead, but like all this other nonsense has come about because of this thing. And no one's tying those things together because it's, racist and inappropriate and everything else. It was just some troubled kid.
Racist and inappropriate. That should be the subtitle for our show.
Yeah, I think that's the subtitle for all of our shows. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like,
well, and this is kind of where it's misguided with the parent of one of the victims that's launching this class action suit. Like the father of one of the girls that was murdered recognizes that nothing is going to bring back his murdered daughter, but he wants to see Smith & Wesson be accountable to avoid these type of tragedies in the future, because his lawsuit alleges that Smith & Wesson could have but failed to enact smart measures on their firearm to keep someone from illegally misusing it.
Out of here! Are you serious?
That's the basis of the lawsuit.
What a fucking joke.
What about if another manufacturer that doesn't currently own a patent on that stuff, because I know that Smith & Wesson does, or the gun was manufactured prior to that technology being available, or say like, they happen to get a government contract, like Colt makes guns for the military and the government. What if someone steals a bunch of Colt guns that were made under contract?
CZ now.
Well, yeah, but like, what happens then, right? Like, so if the Canadian government gets another run of guns made for them, so they don't put the smart technology on it, because how do you hand one rifle to a soldier one day and to a different one the next day and then a different one the next day, right? They're not going to have that. And then those somehow get stolen. What happens then? How do you sue the manufacturer when it's the government that said, like, do you sue the government then? Like, this is ridiculous.
I don't know enough about this aspect of our law, but my understanding is generally that it's not permissible to sue the manufacturer of a device if the device is misused by an end customer.
What about the projectile? Who made the projectile? Maybe they should get sued too.
Well, that's kind of the thing, is like, well, you could sue everybody. You could sue the
well,
people.
How come you can't make smart bullets that you can fucking say out, and you can talk to the bullet and be like, I want to shoot that guy. So when your bullet doesn't hit the right target, it won't kill the person. What about that?
Could we get those for IPSC? Because like I could really like my scores.
It's so fucking stupid. It's so dumb. And the fact that the courts even entertain this shit is what's wrong with this.
The court entertaining it, and it's giving this sense of false hope to these poor parents who have lost their kids, which, again, tragic, but not helpful. Like this is
dragging this through a court and a pointless lawsuit going to do anything?
The only thing that they're going to get out of this, and I expect there are grave dancing people like Heidi Rathigan that are behind this, that have gone to these families and said that they can get a big cash payout by being the face of this thing. And then they're going to, as we've seen in other cases where this has happened, they're going to be left holding the bag, and all of these grave dancing people are going to disappear as soon as it fails in court.
Yeah, but if it succeeds, those grave dancers will be there saying, well, to honor their legacy, you could give us some of that money that you just won,
Oh,
because it would really help strengthen
absolutely.
our anti-gun
Absolutely.
advocacy with a couple $1 million donation.
And then where do you draw the line with that? Like whose death is better than others? Like, so what if a police officer's bullet hits a innocent child and kills him, like it happened recently?
Or what if I drink myself to death with Jack Daniels when I go get a new bottle? Can my family sue Jack Daniels?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I wonder about that with Smith and Wesson from a logistics perspective. They're an American company. I don't know if they have a Canadian operation. As far as I'm aware, they don't. How do you sue a company in another country?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you have to go to that country and file the lawsuit there?
Yeah, I mean, you should have the ability to like potentially to sue like whoever you want to sue. But then, like, the minute you go, I want to sue this one, that goes to the judge, and the judge looks at it and goes, "This is ridiculous. Fuck, get that out of here." Like, I don't think there should be a.
Does it have a department in Canada?
I don't think so.
Not so far as I know, and that was kind of my initial thought when I read this, was that if you're going to file a lawsuit, they need to be able to receive it in the jurisdiction that you're in, right? So how do you sue a company, a legal entity that doesn't have a presence here?
Especially if they weren't imported legally either. Like, I mean, it's one thing they're being an importer, but he's not part of that same business. He's not part of the parent company. He's just a private business over here. But again, if they were brought in over the border surreptitiously in batches of 40, then they weren't even supposed to be here anyway. So again, it's a completely bullshit lawsuit.
Yeah.
Well,
because then Smith and Wesson can argue at that point that, like, even though they were stolen, at that point it's up to the police to track them down or whatever.
So this is where they're going to get into the nonsense with it and go, well, if Smith and Wesson had put their smart technology on it, then like those guns wouldn't be able to fire a projectile until they were purchased by a law-abiding owner, and then they'd be able to use their fingerprints or their DNA or whatever it is that they want to do to make the gun work, and therefore those people wouldn't have died. Because
wait till the anal swab test comes in for those guns.
Yeah. It's going to have a butt plug that Bluetooths to your gun. It's the only way you'll be able to use it.
Okay, but here's another thing. So let's say like Smith & Wesson does make these types of guns, okay? But you can still get regular firearms. Do you think the criminals are going to probably try to target the firearms that don't have that technology?
Absolutely.
So they probably wouldn't have stolen those guns. They would have.
No.
Because I'm sure they just didn't walk up on a crate of guns that were sitting on the side of the road.
That's the argument, though, right?
That steal these things from.
That's the argument, though. Smith and Wesson could have done something to prevent this, but they didn't. That's the argument. It's a dumb one because, yeah, you're absolutely right. So if Smith and Wesson did do this, then obviously they would not have stolen 40 Smith and Wesson M&Ps. They would have stole 40 Glocks or 40 SIGs or something else that would have done the job.
Well, but anyways, I hope that it gets thrown out. And you're right, Andrew. I feel sorry for the families and everything. But this sets a different precedent. To me, this sets a precedent in society where it's like, what's next? Some fat ass that ate themselves to death on McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Absolutely, it sets a dangerous
McDonald's. Like, come on,
precedent. Or people that hit people with cars.
Yeah.
Right? No. Like, can we sue Ford if someone gets hit by a Ford truck?
No. I mean, it's just.
I hope not. I mean, for personal reasons, I hope not.
Right? Like, it's just as ridiculous. Like, the person that did the thing is the person that's accountable for it. Now, it'd be one thing if, like, Smith and Wesson was like, hey, man, here's 40 MPs. Go shoot some people. Like, then they're directly responsible for it. But, like, by manufacturing the things, they're not responsible for what happens to them unless they've actually done something negligent, like didn't look into who was buying them, right? But if they've done everything that they're supposed to and taken all the precautions that are reasonable, and they get stolen or they get sold to somebody that like faked all this stuff, like,
yeah,
you can't do that. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, let's continue the trend of ridiculous things. This is on Sudbury.com. OPP seizes large cache of illegal firearms and ammo from Sable's Spanish River home. 41-year-old man faces numerous charges after, oh my God, a picture with a bunch of scary looking firearms on it. and also stun batons.
Yeah.
So let's do some of the greatest hits here, because I love beating up on the media for their poor reporting. A Colt 45 A1 with a loaded magazine. A Ruger Mark IV tactical pistol.
Oh boy.
They don't include that it's in 22 caliber. A CZ Scorpion Evo 3 S1 submachine gun.
Oh Jesus.
Sounds a lot cooler than it actually is. The Evos are kind of shit.
Well, they're
A Benelli tactical shotgun with 8 slugs in a case attached to the gun.
You mean that's a very complicated way of saying a side saddle.
A Cadex CDX-10 semi-automatic rifle. An upper receiver. A lower receiver. Shotguns, 22s, bolt actions, some pistols. Exotic electronics defender stun gun.
Oh.
Packaging from 2 suppressors, firearms documents, 15 high-capacity magazines, 31 legitimate capacity magazines, which is a first. I've not heard it written like that before. Various ammunition for the different types of firearms, the 2 suppressors in question, possession acquisition license, and registration certificates.
I was just going to say, that's really odd that they reference that they have the packaging for the suppressors.
I need to finish my Billy Mays impression here, but wait, there's more. 3 firearms accessories. 2 fake suppressors and 1 muzzle flash suppressor.
So, 2
I too have a box of gun parts in the spare room.
Yeah, I think all of us do.
Yeah,
but like,
oh my God, a muzzle flash suppressor.
Yeah.
Jesus, don't when they finally come for me. We didn't really follow up on that. I'm glad the black helicopters didn't get Ian last week, because I was a little bit worried there.
Not as happy as I was. I would have. They would have seized my cash, and I mean, if that's a cash, I guess I got one too. I don't know.
Yeah, got a spare vertical grip.
Till I end up in the newspaper and they go through my spare parts bin, because like it is a substantial size bin. They're going to be like, he had 16 different flash suppressors. He had 3 fake suppressors. He had 482 legitimate capacity magazines. Like
an 870 magazine cap.
The box of shit I got.
And he even still had the packaging for 10 of those magazines.
Yeah.
Like, that is the weirdest thing to mention in it. Like,
so
even if it was a legitimate package for an actual suppressor, it's not illegal to own a box.
And
the moral story is, don't do illegal things. And if you're going to get caught, don't do it with firearms, because this is how they are going to report it. This is fucking stupid.
Everything on that table throw out the packaging. Everything on that table is completely legal to buy, right? I don't see anything that wasn't legal to buy in Canada at some point.
It's just the magazines, I guess.
No, I mean the GSG 110 round 22 LR magazine was legal to buy up until they just all of a sudden decided it wasn't.
Well,
what?
And those magazines are probably legal too. He's just drilled out the rivet.
The GSG
I don't see enough magazines here for there to be 46 magazines.
Well, that's
like I don't see enough magazines here to be the number of magazines they've reported. So their drum mags, if they're for a 22, could be legal. The long Butler Creek looking 1022 magazines could be legal.
Yeah, they just have to be pinned.
Yeah.
Right. There's not enough information for, but like the important thing is, don't do stupid things with guns. And if you're going to do stupid things with guns, don't tell people about it and then keep it with all of your registered legal firearms. Take a note from the criminals. If you're going to be a gangster, you have to do gangster shit. And having a PAL and registration certificates, definitely not gangster.
Not gangster at all.
Unless you're associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, in which case then it's totally
also
gangster. And they will,
gangster.
And they will take away. They will take away your PAL, even though you committed no crimes.
Because you're not a gangster.
Well, hey, we're getting treated like gangsters. They're coming after us like we're the fucking gangsters.
I don't think that. I mean, maybe someday they will, but I don't feel like anybody's coming. So far, all the government has managed to do is further inconvenience and irritate me, which really has been my entire interaction with government.
That's just Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, like, I can't ever say I've had like a positive interaction with government at any level, at any phase in my life. I've never been like, wow, that was great. Can't wait to do that again.
But come
What we
on,
need is
Andrew,
more
not being
government.
able to use the AR, that's a pretty big kick in the fucking pills.
Yeah, but it wasn't personal, and it's nothing to do with anybody enforcing that law. It's, yeah, there's politicians that are making up a bunch of shitty rules as they go, but they're not kicking in my door and shooting my dog or my pregnant wife, right?
Yeah.
They're like, they're inconveniencing me. They're prohibiting me from using my property. It's annoying, but it doesn't. What was I doing with my AR-15 before? I was shooting competitively. Okay, I can't shoot competitively now. It sucks. It doesn't really affect anything that's going on in my life. It doesn't change my livelihood. It does change my livelihood because it does impact my job, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, not in a
Keep thinking about
substantial
it.
way.
Keep thinking, you'll start feeling the anger again.
Oh, well, that's the thing is I'm not angry with the government apparatus that are doing this because I understand. I think I'm willing to make I think I understand why the government apparatchiks are doing this, right? This is a vote buying scheme to be tough on criminals and to like, we are doing something to protect the victims of the Danforth shooting, and like they're playing politics, and I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But if we lived in a serious country, I'd have a lot of unregistered suppressors and I'd be doing something about it. But we don't live in a country where that's feasible.
Yeah. Because gun owners are shitty and they've given too many concessions over the years and agreed to registering these things. Because if we had them and they weren't registered, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now.
I don't even know that we wouldn't be in the situation that they're in, because the government is going to regulate and tax and make
for sure
life
government's going to
miserable
government, but
right.
If we had fought it harder back then and said, no, we're not going to register these things, and they could have gone and said, fine, you're going to have to register them anyways, but we just didn't.
Yeah, non-compliance would have been the order of the day back then.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that non-compliance, and I mean, I don't
Back
have
when-
anything personally against this guy in his 40s that's like buying illegal suppressors. If you want to flout the law, I mean, you're not hurting anybody, because libertarian priors, right? You have to remember once upon a time I thought libertarianism was like a good idea. So
I mean, it still is, but
you're not
like
hurting
communism.
anybody. No victim, no crime. I get that. But also, if you want to own a piece of metal and then you want to shoot high-powered projectiles through that piece of metal, like, as long as you're not murdering or raping with it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't impact me. It doesn't impact anybody, really.
Cheers.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even really care if gangbangers shoot gangbangers. Like, that's their problem.
No, I do. I do care if gangbangers shoot gangbangers. I care very significantly.
Yeah, because they do
Because
it.
I want to be the guy that
recklessly.
gets to shoot gangbangers.
That's fair. That's
Well,
fair.
that they have shitty aim, so they usually hit bystanders. If they had
Yeah,
actually
that's the
better
problem.
marksmanship training, it'd be better.
Well, and this is my argument. Well, not the marksmanship training piece. I don't agree with that, but because as a person who provides professional firearms instruction, I would want to vet my students. And if you were like, yo, homie, I need this gat to like protect my stash, I'd be like, yeah, you get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That was great.
I'm just saying so they wouldn't miss each other. So we get rid of the problem faster.
Right.
Because if they had
But if
better
I could
aim,
just shoot them myself, the problem
Yeah.
would go away very quickly.
yeah, well, if we had
Yeah.
a purge, but that's
Right.
neither
Because
here nor
I'd be
there.
like, shooter, are you ready? Stand by. Beep. Boom, boom, boom.
We'd have to have some music to go with it, though.
No,
Yeah.
it'd be fine to do it just as is.
Or just a sweet Jocko podcast to listen to. Wow.
That's right.
I love
Stand
when
by to
Andrew-
get
I love when
some.
Andrew
Like-
goes gangster.
If there were a way to have justifiable use of force on people that were actually criminals and actually like, if I come across somebody who was like carjacking them and I could like with impunity put on my big cowboy hat and whip out the peacemaker, and then
know,
like the
broke
local sheriff
into the
would
robbery.
be like, yep, justified. I'd be like, cool, done, go home, end of
Yeah.
story, right? Like if we lived in a serious society with serious men where you could actually do that, where if
Yeah.
somebody was being a shitbag and you could just solve that problem, totally on board with that.
So
Be
what you're saying
like-
is
there'd be like
Duterte did
one
nothing
year.
wrong.
There'd be 1
Yeah.
year activity, and then people would learn and all that shit would stop happening. You wouldn't see it
Yeah.
happen anymore.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would stop happening.
Oh,
I
yes.
think it would
Yeah.
continue to happen. But I think the people that did it would either get very good at it or very dead.
Yeah. I could tell you one thing though. The upcoming CZ Python would be selling like crazy.
I need a matching hat though.
Yeah.
Like a big 10-gallon, but like in an unusual color, not black or white. Like, can I have a gray one or a brown one?
Ooh, gray would be nice.
Right? Like
But you need like an
gray-
exotic hat band. Like,
Well, just say, like, if somebody carjacks you because you're in
Yeah.
downtown Toronto and that's a thing that happens, and you
Yeah.
pull out your 45 and you shoot the threat until it ceases to be a threat, and the local constabulary comes by and gives you like a box of ammunition and sends you about your day,
good job.
the number of
There you go.
carjackings in Toronto are probably going to plummet.
Yeah.
Big time, man. Trust me,
Or
and,
people-
and if people were empowered like that, there'd be a lot of people coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden that wouldn't be too willing to take shit like that anymore.
Well, and that's sort of my problem is like, and maybe downtown Toronto is not the right example, but if you lived in rural Saskatchewan and the local hoodlums keep stealing your tractors and ATVs off your property, and you were able to defend your property with deadly force, the local hoodlums would stop being a problem
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also breathing. They would basically
Yeah.
just stop being.
Yeah.
But we don't live in a serious country.
No. Because when
Well,
you do
that-
that, when you
that's
do
my
that,
point.
you have to go to court for a while. Luckily, that guy got acquitted, but like, still
Right,
a
but
hassle
that-
to do that.
It probably, if it didn't bankrupt him, it would have come awful damn close, and it tied up his life for like 2.5 years in legal challenges.
Yeah.
Well, and spend the rest of your life looking over your back too, because he still has to live in the same area, or he still
Right,
is living in
well.
the same area.
Yeah.
Yes, but the local dirtbags have now, well, maybe received the message to stay away.
Yeah.
Gun Ban Canada episode 5. They talk about that. They get into it pretty good, and it's a good episode. You should watch it. It's about
YouTube?
self-defense, and it's about like how Canadians have been conditioned to think like not to defend yourself in that manner, right? You got to call the police. It's either victim, right?
Well, I'm all for calling the police, but I ain't got 15 minutes to wait around to figure out what's going to happen.
100%. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. It's like, when if you have the means and the ability to defend yourself, I don't see anything wrong with that if you're like justified in doing it. Like, obviously, right?
Well,
I mean,
that, and even if they do show up, I mean, we've seen cops shoot.
Hey, Brian, is that Gun Ban Canada? Is that a podcast?
no, that's it's made by the CCFR.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of their.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on the Wild TV, or you can get it on YouTube as well. Episode
Okay.
5 is good. They really start talking about it, and they talk about like, why. It's brief because their episodes are pretty quick, but they start
Yeah.
talking about like kind of the psyche of Canadian society of defending yourself with firearms, why it's such a sensitive topic.
Well, I mean, defending yourself in general in this country, whether it's a firearm or not, is sort of.
I feel like it should be a sensitive topic, but I also feel like we should live in a society run by rational adults where you can have a conversation where you can work through some of that it shouldn't just be a taboo subject that you're not allowed to talk about. Because like if I have to listen to one more thing about tranny storytime hour,
Yeah.
but like I'm not allowed to talk about like the justifiable use of force.
Well, I think what happens is like a lot of people think, and as soon as you talk about this in Canada, people are like, "Oh, what do you want this? It's going to be America," and you get people being just road raging and shooting each other and all that kind of stuff.
Except that, like, there's like statistics that show that doesn't happen by
I
and
know.
large. Like,
I know,
because
it's just-
more
it's all
people are
ignorance.
prone to not freak out because
They have a firearm.
if you
on them.
freak. Well, not even that. It's that you don't know if the other person does or doesn't have one. That's what keeps people in check. So I'm not going to like freak out and yell at the guy in the other car because he did something stupid because he may have a gun and I might piss him off and he might shoot me.
And I mean, there could also be a thing where if you are like repeatedly getting into altercations with your firearm, obviously you're probably out there seeking issues. But I can guarantee you, if you had one issue of somebody breaking and entering into your house over like the 20 years that you're a gun owner, and we get vetted every day, and somebody breaks in and you happen to be able to get to your firearm and defend yourself, like, is it really that fucking hard to see that that person isn't out there trying to be dirty Harry? They just wanted to defend themselves and give themselves a fighting chance to protect them or their family.
Well, there you go, using logic again.
Yeah. Not allowed in this country.
I guess.
Apparently, there was a big run on PMags this weekend as things were getting ready for this announcement. Did you guys hear about this? The YouTube chat is talking about it.
Yeah, there's it's all over CGN right now. Is that basically is like as soon as somebody points out where PMags are available, like 5 minutes later they're all sold out.
So,
Why?
I mean,
Is it
I don't
very
want you to
good bad?
disclose anything that was like per sec or op sec, but like, how many PMags do you guys got?
Well, I have
30
a
or so.
I have a bolt action
Allegedly?
that takes I have a bolt action that takes AR mags, and I do like the mission first tactical ones. They're 1010s, but you know, and they also take AR mags. Coincidentally enough,
I lost them all in a boating accident, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've got allegedly somewhere around 30 PMags, like specifically PMags.
So I used to buy a lot of PMags for various rifles, things like service rifle, CQB, disciplines that we were allowed to shoot once upon a time when we had ARs that we could take out of our home and use in a law-abiding fashion. I have
See? Doesn't that get
triple
in your
digit
crop?
PMags, not triple digit AR mags. I have triple digit PMags. Why does everybody else not have a lot of PMags?
well, because
Well-
they were probably told in the PAL course they only need one for the gun and maybe
Yeah.
one for a spare in case it broke, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's not even all of my like AR pattern magazines, but yeah, like 30 PMags specifically.
But no, I mean you gotta remember a lot of people they go to the range, they shoot off their 5, and to go all operator, they change it out and shoot another 5, and they stop and they reload because that's how they roll. Like that's the vast majority of people.
I just went over to my wall of tactical stuff and got my service rifle chest rig, which is kind of keying out on video. But like just this one chest rig that I use for competition, used past tense for competition, has 10 PMags on it.
Nice.
And you gotta have some spares in case they wear out or break or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And or you lose one at the competition because somebody else picks it up. You gotta have spares. So
Oh yeah.
But that's my like I no kidding have triple digit Gen 3 PMags. And then I have Gen 4s, and I have USGI mags, and I have MFT mags, and I have what was those other 1010s, the little pistol maggie dealies.
Yeah, MFT was the 1010.
No, the steel ones.
Oh yeah. They're
Like,
your
my
USGI but
point
short
is-
ones. Yeah.
Why do you have firearms in this country and you don't have magazines for them?
That's the hunter mentality.
well, again, like I said, a lot of people that don't just don't see use for it. They like because they only shoot like 100 rounds a year, maybe. They haven't worn the original PMag that came with the gun, or the original mag that came with the gun, let alone PMag.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, okay. So you were talking about your crazy bolt action rifle, which takes PMag. So maybe that's an exception. I have a crazy bolt action rifle that I use for precision rifle. And our strings of fire are like 12 rounds tops, like 2-siders and 10 for score. And we have 15 or 20 minutes to shoot that. And then we move, and then we have 15 or 20 minutes to shoot again at the next distance and so on. I have 8 magazines for that rifle.
As you should.
Because I don't want to ever have to bother to bomb up magazines, because I just like go get another one and go get it. Like, am I doing guns wrong, guys? I feel like I'm
No,
doing.
I think you're doing it right, because I do exactly the same thing. Like I can shoot a whole service pistol match
And not
without reloading a magazine.
Yeah.
I actually
Just
I took
go to my
advantage.
bag and
I took advantage of this run this weekend. Actually, I sold 2 MFT mags still in the package I hadn't even got to yet for a premium. I was like, why not? I don't care. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. So, yeah, there's
Maybe I
a
should sell
demand right
some
now.
Gently used magazines.
yeah.
They would go the same hour. I guarantee it.
I have a business proposal, Andrew. We get another order from I Run Guns and sell them in order to finance another order from I Run Guns for us.
Yeah, we might have to, because Gavin and I and a few other people split a box of 100 recently. So I'm reading the comments and it's like, Bullseye sold 100 PMags, Lecture Unit Supply sold 75 PMags, and it's like, man, I've ordered case quantities of PMags just for my friends.
It's just, I find it weird though, because like I know why it's going crazy in the U.S. right now, right? Because Biden just dropped his like gun thing, right, saying that he's going to prohibit all this, that, and everything else, including high capacity magazines. But why is that going crazy up here? Because
Who knows?
like,
If I understood how people's brains worked, I would make way more money in a different field than what I do doing what I do.
They claim that I-run guns is sold out too, but by the same token, it's like, yeah, you just get on the next month's import and you're fine.
yeah, it might take a little while or whatever, but like I don't think PMag's going to stop making magazines, or sorry, Magpul, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Weird. All right, well, let's go on to some bank robbery news. I was kind of hoping Marty would be on
Maybe
to
that's
talk
where all
about
those
this.
PMags are for. Yeah.
Well, no, this is this is another one of those things that irks me. 5 men arrested after Woodstock, Ontario bank robbery. This is on Global from February the 10th at 7 in the morning. Follow-up article. Teen suspects in violent Woodstock, Ontario bank robbery arrested hours after heist. This is on CTV News. Also February 10th. Was originally at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was updated later in the day, but they don't say what the update was in the story. So, 4 men entered the bank, demanded cash. One of the men involved was armed with an alleged weapon. One patron from the bank was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. It turns out that an imitation firearm was recovered during the arrests. 2 19-year-olds, a 21-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old, all apparently from Brampton, subsequently arrested.
Well, mistake number one is they assume somebody's gender by the looks of it.
Well, and it is interesting to me how 14 and 16-year-olds pass as adult men.
Maybe they were
A
tall.
group of youths invaded a Woodstock bank. Interestingly, this bank was also robbed about 2 years ago. Armed robbery. I feel bad for the Scotia Bank on Springbank in Woodstock. So whoever is there, I'm sorry if you're a listener. I feel bad for your branch, because that's like 2 years, man. That's not good luck.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess for people that aren't in Southern Ontario, Woodstock is not exactly a large town in Southern Ontario. It's not a small town.
No.
But it's not downtown Toronto. They do have a lot of drug problems, though, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a turd.
It's because there's fuck all else to do out there other than go to Jilly's, which is currently closed. So
And clearly there's people from Brampton coming in and dropping stuff off and then making withdrawals on the way out or something.
And that's,
don't they know that
part
you're
of the
not supposed to
thing with-
travel right now? That's verboten. You can't go from one municipality to another. That's
I'm sure they got their anal swab before they left, and then maybe on the way back they just got tested again or something. Who knows?
I really have nothing good to say about that. I just again,
yeah.
if I got to wear my big gray cowboy hat and carry my 45, we'd be reporting 5 victims in a shooting incident outside of a Scotiabank in Woodstock, Ontario.
Imagine they're surprised when they find out that they get charged the same despite using an imitation firearm, because
doesn't matter.
they get treated as
two
real
minors the 2 minors aren't going to go to jail. They're not going to see any time over this, and the other 3 are probably going to get pleaded down to nothing. They'll all be out in a year.
Yeah, when they're 18, their record gets cleaned up anyway.
So the 2 minors don't get anything for this, and the 3 actual adults probably get a slap on the wrist with an imitation firearm or not.
Yeah. But if you or I were walking down the street with an imitation firearm, even in like a concealed manner so as not to freak people out, we'd probably get charged with carrying a concealed weapon, even though it's not a weapon and we didn't commit a crime.
Yeah, and we have pals, so we would lose all of our firearms and likely go to jail and get that anal swab that Ian's all excited about.
Oof.
Yeah, several times a day, probably.
Sign me up.
I have nothing good to say about this. I just am disappointed in Toronto and Brampton and the surrounding municipalities in Toronto. Like, build a wall. Build a wall. This kind of thing shouldn't be happening in rural Southern Ontario.
Newsflash. Andrew doesn't like the GTA.
Yeah, I know. I say it all the time, but I don't. Because if these people would why are they not robbing a bank in Brampton where they live?
Because there's probably too much competition to who gets to rob the bank that day in Brampton, so they just decide to go where there's.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. I think it's actually, having been to Scotia banks in Brampton and having been to this particular Scotia bank in Woodstock, I think it's actually that they have more security in the Scotia bank in Brampton, and they have that stupid automated teller thing behind the people tellers where you can't take money in or out. And they don't have cash drawers anymore. Whereas the Springbank branch did, probably won't for long, still have cash drawers.
Yeah.
That would make sense because usually they have to do an authorization to like release money out of that machine, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because why have actual tellers when you just have a robot that they look at?
Yeah, then it doesn't matter. All the guys with guns can run into the bank all they want. There's nobody in there to give them the money.
Well, there's lots of people there, but the robot's not going to like cough it up because you got to punch in the number. And yeah, it's not happening. Why are these people not robbing banks in Toronto? That is actually my real serious question. Why would you drive 2 hours Brampton to Woodstock?
My only guess would be is less police.
Yeah, they probably figured it would be
active police force, unfortunately, due to all of the drug-related crimes going on of late.
Maybe that was it. They figured they would be too busy busting crackheads to deal with a bank robbery.
Well, and maybe that's the case. I think that there's people from the GTA that got a little bit overly ambitious and thought they could make easy money.
Yeah, they probably assumed a lot of things, and
they probably thought they're going to some little bumptious town in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And they just thought they can get away with it, I guess, out there more than they could in the city. I could see people having that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to rob a bank, I'd probably pick a small town as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably, be smarter about it and watch the bank for a few days first, and do some intel stuff rather than just like drive all the way out there and rob a bank and fail at it. But
they succeeded. They just immediately got caught when they went back to Brampton.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fail. I'd also probably not do it with a gun.
Like 3 hours after it happened. So like we've already established it's a 2-hour drive time.
Yeah.
So like one of them dropped a wallet in there or something?
Not great. Well, not great at being criminals. They've probably done something like, I don't know, put license plates on their own vehicles and use that and shut up on a security camera.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't imagine Peel Region being that on the ball that they just randomly caught some bank robbers. I feel this is more like, well, let's look up the tag on that. And we know where they live.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what it is that they were idiots. And
that's why if I were gonna do something like this, I wouldn't rob a bank, even in Podunk small town bank.
How old was the oldest person? 21?
21.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the brain mentality. Like that's like the whole brain power.
But if we were going to do it,
21-year-olds calling the shots.
If we were going to do it, though, it would be more like Heat.
No, if we were going to do it, I would have gone into investment banking, and I would just be shorting some stock and making billions of dollars as a hedge fund trader.
You mean doing it with a computer instead of a gun?
Rob the central bank. That's the go big or go home.
Well, and with all the digital currency and everything these days, your computer's going to get you a lot more money than a gun will.
That's why why not rob the central bank? Why are you robbing a bank branch? That's not that much money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe they were trying to pay for a wedding in Brampton or something.
Bottom surgery. Who knows?
Those Indian weddings are pretty big.
Let's remind everybody. Next week is going to be Book and Rifle Club. We're doing Ender's Game, Orson Scott card. Did we pick a March book? I know that we were talking about that.
We talked
earlier.
about
Did we
it.
decide on one?
I don't know. Do we want to do Uncle Ted? I know it's a short one. Or do we want to be controversial? Do we want to be controversial?
Do a short one to let me get ahead on Fight Club because it's not exactly a quick read.
Yeah.
Okay, so in March we're doing Uncle Ted's book.
Yeah. Should we tell people who that is, or is saying his name going to get it on us a couple of lists?
Yeah, no, we're definitely getting. We're already on watch lists. What is Theodore Kaczynski's actual manifesto called?
Hold on, I got it here. I just downloaded it the other day, which is probably going to get me on a list.
Another one.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. There we go.
Industrial
Society and
future?
its future. Yeah.
Good. I can intern just as fast as you because I had my copy closer to hand.
Uh,
All right. I'm not going to give you an Amazon link. I don't know if you can buy that on Amazon. I probably am not going to recommend that you try and buy that on Amazon because it's
Oh, it's on auto. I got it on the iTunes as an audiobook, so I can listen
is
to
it
it.
read by Professor Theodore?
No, I was hoping it would
That's
be.
too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's PDF files available online. Just go to pdfdrive.com.
Yeah, you can find it pretty much anywhere in print or audiobook. It's readily available everywhere, probably even on Amazon as a actual book. But maybe you
right,
don't
well,
maybe you don't want to find that on Amazon, although I bought some pretty suspect books on Amazon.
I mean, do you remember when Amazon used to have good books? Oh wow, there's a bunch of choices on Amazon.
Yeah, I could pull some choice books out of my Amazon purchases right now that definitely get you on the
They've
watch
taken
list.
down a lot of books the last year or so.
Army manuals are still readily available there. They make for good bathroom reading.
But there used to be more controversial political books that are no longer for sale through Amazon, and that's disappointing. I mean, maybe it's a precursor to the March thing, but it's funny how we don't have to actually have book burnings anymore. We just have the only place you can buy books, not sell them.
Yeah.
Book deletions. It's much cleaner that way.
Well, that's old news too, but did you guys see that a while ago? Kindle books were just being deleted from people's Kindle.
Yeah, no.
Amazon was like, yeah, no, that we don't do that book anymore. That's like a verboten book, and they were just deleting them off people's accounts.
Really?
Yeah, it was probably 2016, 17-ish.
Well, I mean, they can take stuff off that you want, and they can put stuff on like a U2 album that you don't want, right?
God, I never wanted a U2 album. There's few things I've wanted less than a U2 album.
Yeah, but you remember when like Bono was actually kind of cool and not a pompous ass when he wrote like Sunday Bloody Sunday? And then he started trying to say that it wasn't a rebel song. You're like, bro.
It's literally about blowing up the government, but okay, carry on.
Yeah.
Also, if you're buying stuff on Amazon, if you don't have an official Big Blue Owl shirt, once the polar vortex is over, it should get warm again.
Yep.
Official Big Blue Owl shirt, and if you use our Amazon affiliate link, we get affiliate revenue. And that helps do things like buy this great microphone that keys out that you can't see, but hopefully makes me sound slightly better than I used to.
I think you sound awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We also have a Discord server now. The younger Andrew set that up for us. It's moderately active. As I am only on 2 Discord servers, it seems pretty good. The other Discord server I'm on is for amateur radio, and it is absolutely awful. But also, I know some of the people in the radio class are listeners, so thank you for that.
Yeah. Suffer with us.
Suffering is the right thing. I guess there are 2 links to the Discord server now, and I don't know why. Whatever Discord server in the show notes. Go around the room. Ian, where can everybody find you?
You can reach me at the westernretreat@gmail.com. And you can also find me recording a Canadian Prepper podcast on Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube. Also switching over, I guess, to Apple Podcasts sooner or later after we rip the MP3 off.
Nice. You guys have a book review coming up as well.
Indeed, we do. 77 Days in September by Ray Gorham. That'll be on the last Sunday of the month.
Cool.
The last Sunday of this month?
Yep.
Ooh, can I manage to get that done in a week? I bet I can.
It's not bad. It's a decent read.
Yeah. Rumor has it
I'm
also
still
that
making my notes about Ender's Game, so I need to make some time to finish that and then start the copycat CPP.
Rumor has it that Andrew and I might also be making another appearance on Prepper podcast to get even more autistic about pants. So if you enjoyed it on this podcast, tune in on that one.
It's probably just going to be the same 90 minutes, but that.
Yeah, we'll just cut and paste.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Brian, where can everybody find the show?
It can be reached at www.canadianpatriotpodcast.com/feedback or feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com.
All right. Anything else you want to mention?
Nope.
No, you good? All right. Gavin, where can everybody find you?
The best place to find me right now is obviously on the Discord server because I'll be there occasionally-ish. Other than that, the Instagram, UrbexGTA, all one word. Or I believe there's still, one space left for our nav course? One. Just one. Taking place at a very secret location. If you're interested.
But not near the GTA.
Yeah. If you're interested, you can, check it out on the Ragnaroks or shoot this show an email. There's one space left if you want to learn how to read a map and a compass and all that fun stuff. You can find us there in person, socially distanced and wearing our masks, of course.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm actually just going to get a Zoom call. I'm staying home. Gavin's going to set up the presentation, what do you call it? The PowerPoint projector.
It's going to be like one camera and computer for each person. We're going to just put them all in a room. So like in Demolition Man, when they're at the table and it's all the computer monitors that are just rotating. Yeah. And they all rotate to look at each other like they're having
I'm going to have to actually rotate all the fucking monitors though. So it's going to suck.
Yeah. That's how it's going to work. We're all actually going to be there, but not there. It's cool.
All right. Shotgun Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Rat burgers will be served for lunch. Or Taco Bell. Those are your
Taco
options.
Bell. I want Taco Bell. Fuck that shit.
I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't fit him into the show tonight.
He was using the 3 seashells.
He's the only one that knows how.
That's terrifying. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you're the true north, strong and free.